Hello, everybody. How you guys doing today? My name is Keon Corniff. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope today is bringing nothing but prosperity, health, wealth, and love. But I just want to take the time just to introduce myself a little bit. I've been with World Financial Group now a little bit over 3 years. I've come to this company before that. I was working three jobs. I was working three dead-end jobs trying to make it a full-time job. And then I came to this company and I learned some very fantastic things. Some of the things I'm going to share with you today, what I've learned. Now, what I'm going to talk about a little bit is what are some of the great concerns that we know that's going on right now within the public. Right now we see that people are struggling to pay their bills on time. We see that a lot of people are finishing school with student loan debts. We know that people right now are suffering throughout their retirement, and we know that the lack of funding and preparing and financial literacy is the reason behind this. So right now our company is on a national campaign to deliver what's called financial education. We're doing this in multiple ways. But just a little bit about that, let me share a little bit about who our company is so you have a better understanding about who we are. Now, the name of our company is called Aegon, Aegon. Now, Aegon has been around since 1844, one of the top 10 financial companies in the world. Actually, the Wall Street Journal said that we're too big to fail. So Aegon wanted to make a presence in North America, so they bought a company called Transamerica. Now, Transamerica was founded in 1904 by a gentleman named A.P. Giannini. A.P. Giannini is the same guy that set up a desk on a shipping deck, handed out loans to everybody that needed one in 1906 when the earthquake destroyed San Francisco. He's the same guy that actually set up to back all the bonds on the Golden Gate Bridge while they were finishing all the production. The same guy that loaned Disney is giving Disney his first major loan to put together his first major film that made him the way he is today. These are just a few things that Transamerica and APG and Nini have done. One of the good thing about that is that's one reason why Aegon fell in love with them. Now, Aegon also fell in love with another company that's called World Financial Group. Now, World Financial Group is a marketing and distribution company, and one of the things that we focus on is financial education. Now, the division that I'm a part of is called World System Builder. Now, World System Builder is a division that focuses on financial education because right now we're on a mission to educate 1 million families by 2020. You see, we understand that knowledge is power, and WSB, we're determined to provide 1 million people throughout the North America with a financial education that could empower them to have a better future. The way we're doing this is basically let them know that with financial foundations, education program, you can learn how to actually make money work better for you. You can even find and save more money. You must understand investments and build wealth. Also, how to protect and preserve your money. See, in our workshop, we're going to provide all the classes. We're going to provide classes on how to increase your cash flow, how to manage your debt, how to build a strong financial foundation, what is proper protection, building wealth, asset accumulation, retirement planning, and wealth preservation, even how to build a business in the financial industry. That's some of the good things that we're going to talk about today. Now, one of the things that I want to share with you a little bit is the fact that we're going to talk about how to build your financial foundation. And why is it important for you to take control of your money? Okay, if you don't learn how to do these two things, you're going to have what we've seen happening today where people are struggling throughout their retirement days. Now, one of the other thing that we're going to see that happen is this. In order for you to build a strong financial foundation and take control of your money, you must understand how money works. Now, here's a good thing. You see on our worksheet here where it talks about we're going to cover some major topics. Three topics that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about taxes, we're going to talk about budgeting, and we're going to talk about what is the rule of 72. But on the very top, we have a circle right here. And this circle, the large circle, represents your entire income. Now, when you look at your entire income, we know that at least 50% or even more go into your lifestyle. So that leaves me to wonder who's taking the other half. Now we have about 25% or more going into taxes. And we know the average person carry around debt, 30% in debt. Now that 30% in debt could make up of anything from medical debt, student loans, credit card, mortgages, car loans, all these different kind of debt. So with that type of debt and that much type of taxes hitting us, we're left with a minimum of anywhere from 0 to 5% is what people are able to save. 0 to 5% is what people are in a position to save. Now that's a major problem. So when I look at that, and I took a big understanding of what we could do. That's one of the reasons why I fell in love with what I do. Because what I do is that I teach people how to legally lower the taxes on their money. I also teach them how to eliminate their debt. So that way we could take that funds and move it to the smaller circle where we could teach them how to become their own personal money manager. See, people need to learn and understand how to take control of their money. Now, the book that we'll be using of choice today, if you look on your right, you see it's called Saving Your Future. This book teaches you about the basic principles of building a financial foundation. It's about how to save your future. So the page that I'm going to turn to is page 2. I just want to read a quick little passage before we move on. Now, it says here, you must remember, there's nobody more interested in your financial future than you are. Definitely not the government or your employer. It's your responsibility to learn the simple rules of how money works. Understand how money works is part of taking care of your family. You can do it. You can control your future. That's one of the things that we want to teach you today, how to control your future. So here's the first big thing that I'm going to let you know. Did you know that if you understand taxes, you will know where to put your money? Because there's 3 ways you get taxed when you need your money. You get taxed now, later, and also never. But most of us never understand that last one I mentioned. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you. Let's talk about the now. Now, to get taxed now is where you get taxable money. Your money is taxable in your checking, savings, stocks, mutual funds, and CDs. Now, what does that really mean? So let's break it down a little bit. Let's turn to page 18. Now, on page 18, it's going to talk about the different ways of how you get taxed. Now, it says here, tax now. Tax now means that any earnings from these accounts must pay tax for that year. For example, you must report and pay tax on earnings from savings accounts, certificates of deposits, which are CDs, and dividends from stocks, mutual funds, and money market funds. So you're subject to paying taxes on that money every year. So when you look at that, I know that about 85% of people participate in these vehicles because most people require to have a bank account in today's date, even for your job. So now we look at what is the other one. It is called later, where they tax you later on. What does that mean? Well, that means that your money is tax deferred. Tax deferred money is 401ks, 403bs, 457s, annuities, pensions, IRAs. All of these vehicles are considered to be tax later money. So what does that tax later really mean? Well, we're still on the page 18 where it says later. Now, tax later means the money you put in is pre-tax money. Now, pre-tax money deposits in an account is the money that you have not yet paid income tax on. But you will definitely pay tax when later, when you withdraw it. These accounts are also called tax deferred. In the U.S., tax deferred accounts commonly take the forms of IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs. It says in the U.S., when you begin to take your money out after 59 and a half, you'll be taxed at ordinary income tax rates. But if you take the money out before 59 and a half, you will get a 10% penalty with a few exceptions in addition to taxes. Also, you can't keep money there forever. You must start withdrawing it when you reach 70 and a half or pay 50% penalty. Now, the fact that we look at these vehicles as taxed later, well, most people know these vehicles to be what's called retirement plans. Now, what are retirement plans? Let's break that down a little bit, and let's turn to page 68. Now on page 68, it says here, it's going to talk about the two ways that breaks down retirement planning. Now it says retirement plans. Retirement plans falls into two basic categories, defined benefit plan or a defined contribution plan. Now let's talk about the defined benefit plan, which is also known as a traditional pension. It pays a retiree a specific benefit based on the years of service and salary level until they die. In some cases, the payout will continue for the spouse or a beneficiary. Put simply, they're called defined benefit because you know what you're going to get when you retire. This plan is quite costly for the employer. Most companies have dramatically scaled back on these plans or eliminate them altogether. So that means these plans are very, very expensive for your employer. That's one of the reasons why they then introduced to us what is called the defined contribution plan. Now, keep in mind what it says here about defined benefit plan. It says the defined benefit plan is based on the years of service and salary level until they die. In some cases, the benefit will continue to pay out for your spouse or beneficiary. That's a defined benefit plan. Now, the defined contribution plan goes a little differently. It says defined contribution plan, which is normally known by the IRS tax code like 401k or 403b. So it's known by the IRS tax code, right? So it says the defined contribution plan allow employee to make pre-tax contribution to their own retirement account. So remember what pre-tax is, money that you haven't paid taxes on yet. So employers may make matching contribution up to a certain amount. Your employer serves as a plan sponsor and has another company administer the plan and its investment. This plan administrator is typically a mutual fund company, a brokerage firm, or an insurance company. It also says that you are responsible for the investment of your money by choosing investment options in the plan. Contribution limits are set every year to keep up to the high cost of living, which is also known as inflation, which we're going to cover later on. So just to summarize real quick, what does that all mean? These plans are called defined contribution because you know what you put in, but you won't know what you may get when you retire due to the market fluctuation. So the market goes up and down. Now the thing is, it's about 10% of people participate in these plans because your job has to sponsor you. Remember, your employer serves as a plan sponsor to enroll you in these vehicles. Then you have the tax never. What does that really mean? Well, tax advantages. That's the fancy word for it. Tax advantages. So you get tax advantages in vehicles like your long-term care, municipal bonds, 529 college savings plan, life insurance, and Roths. Well, let's turn to page 19 and let's talk about what does that mean. Now, tax advantages. Tax advantage mean you generally won't pay tax when you withdraw the money from your account. Tax advantage investment money is after tax money because you have already paid tax on it. Roth, IRAs, 529 college savings plan, and life insurance are popular investment vehicles that get tax exempt distribution. Many people didn't know that. But let's talk about a few things. When we look at our lives and things in the future, most parents want to think about college for their kids. And most of the time they get bought into this system, they'll put their money in this vehicle. And sometimes they tell us about it. So let's turn to page 72 and talk about it. On page 72, it's going to talk about a plan that is called the 529. Now, here's something that it didn't tell us about the 529, right? And we're just going to give you a scenario. It says here, a 529 is a state-sponsored college savings plan, but it's open to non-residents. Thus, parents can shop around for the best plan to meet their financial goals and needs. However, if your child decides not to go to college, you could transfer the money to another family member for college. If all your children decide to skip school and become rock stars, then the money is subject to regular income taxes plus a 10% penalty on the gains. Please note that the 529 affect a family's eligibility for financial aid because it's considered an asset. So even when you're doing something great for your child, you could be doing something bad for them. And that's why we got to be very careful of how we put together plans for our kids and ourselves. So now let's talk about another plan. Because on that FAFSA form, it doesn't ask for much things, right? If you go and fill out a FAFSA for your kid, you notice that they ask for 401ks and the retirement account, savings account, but it never asks for the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So now let's turn to the page 46, and let's see what they never asked for in that FAFSA form. Now on page 46, it talks about the tax advantages of life insurance. That's what they never asked for in the FAFSA form. But let's talk about some of these tax advantages of life insurance. It says, under the current Internal Revenue Service, which is the IRS guidelines, insurance policies receive many favorable tax advantages. Did you know that in your life insurance, you get tax-free death benefit? Which means, should the insurer die, the entire death benefit, including the cash value, is income tax-free to the beneficiary. Also, you get tax-deferred earnings. You do not pay taxes on the gain in the policy, unlike other vehicles that you will most likely using now. You also get tax-free withdrawals and tax-free loans. You got to also remember this. As long as you stay within the IRS guidelines, the withdrawals and loans can be taken without federal income tax liabilities. How awesome is that? So these are some of the important things that you must understand about tax advantages. Tax advantages of insurance are only good if you have gains and significant accumulation of money. If you have term insurance, right? All these tax-free loans and tax-free withdrawals and tax-deferred earnings are no good because the term has no cash value. And that's what most people never tell you. So you got to understand that you got to be prepared and knowledgeable about why it's important to learn these things about finance. Here's another thing. We talked about insurance. Now, let's turn to page 39. I'm going to talk about what insurance wealthy people are using. Now, wealthy people, when you think about it, most of us know about insurance. We heard about term life. We've heard about permanent, whole life. And we have even heard of final expenses. And most people think those are insurance. Even accidental or group insurance, people think those are insurance that is so good. Nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying there's better. Now, let me break it down to you. What are some of these? Now, there's something called universal life. Now, the difference between universal life and whole life is that it has flexibility. You know, you can actually change your premium, and you can even pay more one month and less the next. You know, sometimes when you even face money problems, you can even skip a few months payments as long as you have enough cash value inside the policy to pay for the cost of insurance, which is the COI. That's one of the best things about that, you know. Now, Universal Life had an upgrade, and then they introduced something called Index Universal Life. Now, Index Universal Life is a fast-growing product due to its index strategy. Since it's a universal life, it has all the flexible features that I just mentioned. Now, the key part of this product is the cash value is based on a certain index, such as the S&P 500. Now, the investor is not directly investing in the market or the index. Instead, the cash value inside the policy is credited with the return based on the performance of the index. Now, you can earn a growth based on the index, but only up to the ceiling maximum, which is called a cap, which, for example, would be like 13%, right? So let's just say that your cap is 13%. However, if the index drop, you have the safety that you won't go lower than the minimum floor, for example, 0%. So if the S&P 500 drops 20 negative, you're going to get a 0% interest. That's the minimum floor, which means the cash value doesn't lose any money during the down market. And if it gains 15%, you will get the 13% return, which is the maximum cap you can earn. So that's one of the biggest things that we got to learn and understand about what type of insurance we're talking about. We're not talking about when you die. We're not talking about if anything happened to you. We're talking about while you're alive. That's why it's called life insurance, not death insurance, not accidental insurance, not final insurance. We're talking about you need money while you're alive. And how can you protect your money? That's one of the greatest kept secrets. So we got to look into that and understand these things. So what does that understand? Well, we now learn and understand there's only 5% of people that actually participate in these vehicles. Only 5%. And that's a major, major problem. That the only 5% of people have access to this when we could put ourselves in a position to actually have more access, because most people are never taught how to understand these vehicles. So we want to learn and we want to teach you how to do that and why it's important for you to understand these advantages so that way you could take advantage of them yourself. Because if you don't take advantage of this, we gonna be always in a position where we're always trying to fight to understand and get better advantages of money. So here's a big thing. If you was to choose from tax now, later, or never, which one you want to choose? That's for you to answer to yourself. So that way you get a better understanding. But whichever one you do choose, you then have to learn how to budget. You have to learn how to budget. But budgeting is not so complicated, you know. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet or a graph. It is quite simple. It is so simple. It's literally 3 numbers: 50, 20, 30. Now, if you understand these 3 numbers, you will understand how to budget your money. 50% of your income go towards your savings. Your bills. 50%. 20% go towards savings, and then 30% go towards spending. If you put your savings and your budgeting like that together, it's a great way to definitely be on track. And that's one of the biggest things that we got to understand, how to budget. And if we learn to do that, we'd be in a great position to take advantages of how to save. So that's what we want people to understand how to do. We want to put people in a position to where they can learn how to budget properly. So I'm going to break that down a little bit more. What does that mean? So this is what it means. If you look at the simple rule to budgeting, right? That's what a simple rule is. Now, when you look at this and you see that 50% of your income go to your fixed expenses, right? So for your fixed expenses are things like your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, your insurance, food, and all living expenses. These are fixed expenses that are important to you. Then you have 20% that go towards your savings, which is for your financial goals. It could be anything. It could be paying off credit card debt. It could be going towards paying off student loans, paying off the mortgage, whatever you want to save towards it, having a better retirement plan. These are plans that you could put together. Now, the other good thing is that you have the 30%. 30% is money that go towards the fact that you want to have a little fun money. Fun money is where you can also now get in the position of where you can now have some little entertainment. You could have little hobbies. You could start traveling, dining out, have yoga classes, do whatever. You can enjoy yourself a little bit. So that's one of the good things that you can put yourself in a position to do if you budget like this. So now let's turn to page 8 and let's break down what does that mean. Now on page 8 in our Saving the Future book, it talks about pay yourself first. You need to set aside at least 5 to 10% of your income so that way you can save for the future. If possible, save 15% or more. You got to treat it like a bill that you must pay, and you must pay it first. So that's your family's financial bill. And doesn't it make sense for you to pay your families first before you pay other people's bills? We're so quick to pay bills, but we never pay ourselves. So if we learn to just make these small changes, we can actually have a lot of money, you know. Small changes equal big money. And spending is a habit. So is saving. What if you could just make these small changes and actually start changing your habits and create a new habit and get rid of your spending habits and start saving just $10 a day? You know, that's actually $300 a month. If you're in a position to save $300 a month and you did this for 30 years and just got a minimum of 8% rate of return on your money, you know you have over $447,000+. What if you could save just double that and save $20 a day and still get that 8% in 30 years? That's $894,000+ of your money. My question to you is which one you want? Because it's not what you earn that counts, it's what you keep. And that's a common characteristics amongst wealthy people, is that most of very much of them are very conscientious about their spending. They're very aware about what they're spending. Because if we're not aware about what we're spending, we will fall short to what the next page will be on page 14. On page 14, we're going to talk about what is called the silent killer, which is also known as inflation. You see, due to inflation, we are struggling day by day. We are living paycheck to paycheck. So inflation happens when a country prints more money than it actually earns. The result is that everybody will lose some value to their money. Some refer to inflation as the hidden tax. Inflation is a major factor to consider when you're building your financial future. For instance, if you put money in an account with zero rate of return, its value will certainly decline in the long run. So in the last 100 years, from 1914 to 2014, the U.S. inflation rate averaged 3.32%. Now you wonder why we've been living paycheck to paycheck. You know, the only way we could keep up with inflation is the next thing I'm going to tell you. And it's on page 11. This is the way we could keep up with inflation. And it's by understanding what is called the rule of 72. The rate of return, the magic of compound interest. Now, this is one of the most important discovery in finance, and it's the rule of 72. It shows you how to calculate the effective compound interest with a very simple formula. It said if you take 72 and you divide it by the rate of return, the answer is the number of years it takes for the money to double. So this was created by Albert Einstein, and he made it so simple. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you 3 examples of how the rule of 72 can work for you, against you, and little for you. So the first one we're going to talk about is a bank. Now, if you don't know what the bank gives you interest on your money is, go to bankrate.com. And once again, go to bankrate.com and type in your bank, and it will tell you what is the rate of return or the interest that they're giving you on your money. For this example, to make it simple, we want to say that the bank gave you 1%, which we know they don't. Now, let's just say the bank gave you 1%. We're going to take 72, and we're going to divide it by 1. That equals 72, because 1 can only go into 72 times. So that 72 will represent the amount of years it takes for your $100 to become $200. My question to you is, do you want to wait 72 years for your money to double if you're earning 1% interest on your money? I hope that's a no. Now let's talk about credit cards. Now they give us access to their money, right? And they're giving it to us at a higher interest. You know, some credit cards are so high as the interest on them, and most of us don't really take the time to pay attention to that. Now it says here, the average interest rate on the credit card is 18%. 18%, they said the average is. Now 72 divided by 18 equals 4 years. So that means it would take about 4 years for your $500 to become $1,000 if it was that way. Because the way it works is that most of the time they charge you on every purchase, right? You get interest on every purchase, and that's some of the reason why most people can't keep up to pay off their credit card bills if they max them out. Due to the fact that they got to go against inflation and the lack of earning and the fact that they're not able to even save. So what if you were able to put yourself in a position to have an investment where you could earn 8 to 15% interest on your money? Now, then you're in a good ballpark. Because let's just say that you earn a minimum of 8%. 72 divided by 8 equals 9. That means your money will double for you every 9 years. It's more likely for you to see every 9 years in your lifetime versus 72. So let's just say that you put away $1,000 one time. 9 years later, it becomes $2,000. That's not bad for saving $1,000 one time. My question to you is, which one you rather? Would you want to wait 72 years by banking in a bank? Or you might want to find yourself an investment that could give you anywhere from 8 to 15%. Well, that's one of the reasons why we're here to talk to you today. Now, let's go to page 76 and let's talk about how can you get that and where and what is the understanding. Now, on page 76, it talks about managing growth. And you must learn how to manage your growth. Because here's what it says. Manage growth. How do you win the money game? That's a question that you got to ask yourself. And many people always ask themselves that, It says here, if money were a game, many of us would be losing. Making big income does not necessarily mean that you're going to win this money game. There's a lot of millionaires that are drowning in the sea of debt right now. Bankruptcy doesn't just happen to working people. It actually befalls people from all walks of life. Some people actually make a lot, but they don't spend a lot too. There's people that are very conservative because they understand that. So here's the two things that people are always looking for. But here's what I want to ask you, which is important to you. Growth on your money or safety? Do you want growth or safety? That's the best thing you got to ask yourself. When thinking about safety for their money, most people think about a bank. That's what most people think about. They think about the bank. But when they want growth, most people think about investments. They think about investments. But here's the problem. The problem is that you want growth and you may not get safety though. That's investments. Because most investments come with risk, right? And if you want safety, you may not get growth to beat inflation. And that's what the bank is. Because you put your money there and you can't earn enough interest on your money. And remember when I talk about taxes, if you understand taxes, you know where to put your money. If you put your money majority in the bank, you'll be taxed every year on the growth. And if you wait till later on, they're going to tax you later on. And the thing for you to get qualified is for never. The only thing you have to do is qualify for that. So when you look at managed growth, here's something you got to look at. You got to try to get something that gives you all four of these boxes. That's why I told you about the Index Universal Life. See, I'm a specialist in the Index Universal Life. I know how to design these things to give you all four of those columns where you could get growth, safety, tax advantages, and protection. Now, the growth that you have in this vehicle is anywhere from 8 to 15% earning potential. Did you know in the last 20 years, the global index have given a return of 8.65%? That is extremely awesome. How about the safety that you will get 0.75% guaranteed to you? Even if the market goes down, you still get 0.75%. That's close to 1%, even if the market does good or bad. Isn't that great? Talk about tax advantages. Tax-free loans and tax tax-free withdrawals like we mentioned in our earlier talk. And your money's protected. Your money's protected from lawsuits, garnishments, child supports, and divorce in so many states. Some of the great things about that is the fact that your family don't have to worry about probate or estate tax when something happened to you. Your wealth is transferred to your family tax-free. That's what most people don't understand. And that's what I'm trying to give you the qualification, the access point of how to qualify for this vehicle. It takes literally 5 minutes for you to sit down with the person that invites you to this video. So that way you can learn and see how you could qualify for this. Because here's the thing, just to give you a quick review. The goal is to have you learn first. Before you could be in a position to get advantages, I want you to learn and understand what this is about. Until you learn, then we will talk about how do we get you qualified, because we want you to learn and understand everything. So what I want you to do is, I want you to take the time and I want you to do your research and talk to us and research. And I mean research in what do you want? What do you want to get qualified for? What is it your goals are? What do you want your outcome to be? Do you want to be a part of this march in 2020 that we're going to be having in Washington, where we're going to accomplish our goal of educating 1 million families? Do you want to be a part of that 1 million? Do you want to walk away and say, you know what, I paid off my credit card because of this program. I paid off my car loan. I paid off my student loans. I paid off my mortgage. We already have people that is doing this. And the thing is, you could become one of them. So don't wait too long to become a success story. Take this as a blessing that someone sent you this video. And I promise you will walk away a winner if you follow the steps that we give you. Once again, my name is Keon Corniff. I'm a proud world system builder, and I look forward to meeting you and talking to you and sharing even more about how to build your financial foundation. It's time you take control of your money. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.